Hello and welcome back to the NUFC Opinion blog for another opposition fan preview. Today I'm joined by Jude from Jude's Journey. You can find him on YouTube, Twitter, all the other social medias, etc. And Jude is a massive Aston Villa fan. Firstly, Jude, how are you doing?
Hi, mate. Thanks for having me on, Dan. Seeing you do some great work. And yeah, I'm doing good, mate. Looking forward to tomorrow's match.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Just to kick things off straight away, given Aston Villa's remarkable season, you've had some great victories, of course. The 7-2 against Liverpool springs to mind. How do you see tomorrow's game going?
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one to predict, really. I think, Villa have struggled to get going in the new year. After our COVID outbreak, we've struggled to find a consistent level of form. But like you said, the good start in the beginning of the season has helped us, and we sit mid-table, which is a drastic change from last season. We've equalled our points tally. I think we're 5 points better off than we were last season at the end of it. So yeah, it's been a brilliant season so far. Like I say, been a little bit inconsistent these last few weeks, and I hope we have enough to beat you. You're not doing great at the moment. You're hampered with injuries. I'm sure we'll come on to. So yeah, I hope we have enough to beat you, and hopefully we'll come away with 3 points.
Yeah, obviously at the moment Newcastle are managed by former Villa manager Steve Bruce, who at the minute he's not exactly doing too well here on Tyneside. He's not very well liked, it has to be said, by a lot of the fan base. Of course, as I mentioned, he's a former Villa manager. So how do you perceive him? Like, how was he seen upon when he was Villa manager, and then how do you look at him now he's at Newcastle?
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I went on a fan channel a few weeks ago, Newcastle one, and we compared Steve Bruce's tenure at both Newcastle and Villa, and there are a lot of similarities. Villa, a little bit different to the Newcastle job, but Villa, he came in, he steadied the ship in the Championship of that first season. He attracted a lot of good signings. Your likes of your Tammy Abrahams, your Tommy Elphick, Anwar El Ghazi's. It attracted high caliber players, Ahmad Al Mohammadi, and very much like he has done at Newcastle. You've got your Callum Wilsons, Joe Willock, some great high class Premier League quality players, and he did the same at Villa, like I said. However, it all went a bit wrong in the second season. We got to the playoff final, and his just style of football, he just doesn't have any tactics or style.
I agree.
If you look at Dean Smith, our current manager, or maybe Rafa Benitez, you got a picture of him in the background there.
I do.
They go out and think, how can we win this game? The difference is with Steve Bruce, he goes out and goes, right, how can I not lose this game?
Fully agree, yeah.
And I just think that some of the style of the play and the way he manages, like, for example, his play, Yedinaku is a central defensive midfielder, a centre-back. When we had a fully fit centre-back on the bench, he plays out of position. He caused one of our best centre-backs, James Chester, who had a knee injury at the time. He made him play when he could have easily put another fully fit centre-back on the pitch, and caused him further injuries and complications in his career. So overall, I think this Newcastle job will be his last. I think he's past it, in my opinion.
No, I fully agree with you on that sense. Certainly, at the moment, if you just happen to venture into Newcastle Twitter after a match, it's an absolute war zone. The sort of criticism he gets and the things that he says in the press. I mean, obviously, I'm not in his position. I don't know exactly what it's like, but just from a fan point of view, there just seems to be a lot of discontent towards Steve Bruce, which is a bit of a shame because, the man's from Newcastle. He grew up supporting the club, but just the way he goes about it, just we don't like at all. Now, moving back onto tomorrow's game itself, of course, this morning it was confirmed that Jack Grealish is still out and won't have any part in the game. How do you think that will affect your chances?
I think, Jack Grealish is always going to be a miss to our team. He's our talisman. He's got us a number of, he got us to where we are today. However, I do think in order for us to show progression, I do think we've we can cope without him. Yes, the results over the last few weeks without him have been a bit mixed. I think we've only won one while he's been one. Yeah, the one against Leeds we won while he's been out. But we're more of a unit. We're building more of a squad under Dean Smith, and this is where over the next week or so, or over the last few weeks, we need to see other players stepping up. So we've got the likes of Sanson, Barkley has faced a lot of criticism over the last few weeks. He's come back from injury and not quite got to the standards that he was previously. So I'd hope whether he has a part in tomorrow that he steps up his game a little bit. But I feel like we'll have more than enough to beat you, and we've got a lot of quality, especially in the final third.
That's the depressing thing. I agree with you. I think you have fully enough to beat us even without Jack Grealish. And I'll be honest, Jack Grealish is someone who I really admire and look up. I think he's a great player. I think he deserves to be starting the Euros in the summer. But from a Newcastle perspective, obviously I'm quite glad that he's not playing.
Yeah,
But
long as Tim Maximan's not playing, so
yeah. Obviously, though, there is also a lot of history between Newcastle and Villa in terms of the fan bases clashing a couple of times, things like that. Especially in 2009 when you sent us down. What do you make of Newcastle as a club from a Villa perspective?
I don't really know where you mentioned about us sending you down there. I don't really know where the rivalry has come from. I don't think it's as big or as harsh as people make out it is. I think Newcastle are a club that they're a big club. They deserve to be in the top half of the Premier League. You definitely don't deserve to be going through what you're going through right now.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And you need a takeover. Mike Ashley, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong here. He's as much as Steve Bruce is at the helm at the moment, and he won't be causing anyone any problems. Mike Ashley in particular, I do think that Mike Ashley is trying his best in terms of to get out of the club, but I don't think the Premier League.
It's taken him 14 years, but I think he's actually trying now. Yeah, no, yeah. That's right. No, you're very much true in that. Yeah, I'd say that I think the difference between say Steve Bruce and say Rafa Benitez, who is up there, Steve Bruce is quite happy to accept the sort of situation that Mike actually puts him under in terms of finance, in terms of just whatever. To be honest, whereas Rafa Benitez wasn't happy to accept that, and he stood up to Mike Ashley and said, "Well, look, I have this vision for Newcastle. Either take it or leave it." And Mike Ashley wasn't prepared to back that and go with the ambition. But it is a good thing that he is trying to sell the club finally. If say Newcastle were to be taken over by this massive Saudi consortium, as we've heard many times in the news, how would you see our chances improving in terms of all domestic competitions?
I think you'd improve massively. I think you only need to look at and Villa are in the early stages of it, but you only need to look at Villa and what they've done since they've come up. We're slowly progressing. I think this season is a prime example of that, and I think Newcastle need to follow suit in terms of what Villa have been doing. You need to keep hold of your prime assets, Ali and St. Maximin, and players like that, because like I said, you need to be fighting in the top half of the Premier League, and slowly but surely you should be challenging for Europe. So if you get a good takeover, you get a good ownership in, and he recruits wisely, he gets a manager in that understands the vision of Newcastle and doesn't just settle for whatever he gets, then I think you're far. But don't expect it overnight, and I'm sure you'll know that anyway.
No. Oh yeah, no. I think that's the thing that's annoyed a lot of supporters up here. It's the fact that we've been labelled as people who expect the world, but we don't. We just expect a team that can be a bit, well, for example, not be drawing 0-0 against West Brom, who have the worst defensive record in the league this season. Just a team that actually goes out and tries to win. We started that game against West Brom without a recognised striker on the pitch.
Yeah,
that's the sort of situation and it's really sad. And to be fair to Aston Villa, you've got to give you credit, because when we won the championship under Rafa a few years back, you were mid-table, if I remember rightly, in that championship season, and since then you've overtaken us.
Yeah,
and I think that's where the issue stands. We got ourselves back up, and then we've stagnated. Whereas it was a bad season. Mid-table championship, it was not very good. But since then, you've built and built and built and since past us, and I think that's what we look for up here as well. I think I see a lot of similarities between Newcastle and Villa. Both big clubs, well supported, big fan bases, and despite maybe some rivalry, I think we have a lot to learn from a club like Aston Villa. And it's sad as a Newcastle supporter to see what has become of us. But as much as say you're not my club, it's nice to see Villa competing again, because as far as I'm concerned, they deserve to be. And it's a big club that should be in this sort of area of the league, competing with the likes of your Manchesters, your Liverpools, etc. And as I say, it's really good to see. Finally, moving back just to tomorrow's match, as we've mentioned, Jack Grealish won't be playing. So, is there anyone else that we should be looking out for that could cause Newcastle some problems?
Yeah, I think there's two really. I've just written a match preview myself, and I highlighted the likes of Ollie Watkins. I mean, he was brought in from Brentford under Smith's regime, who knows him well, and his work rate is just incredible. He just doesn't stop running. He's at the start of the season when he weren't getting he's gone for a period of not getting goals, and people going, we spent this much money on a striker, but he offers lots more than goals to the team, and he's just brilliant. His work rate on and off the ball is exceptional, and he's a type of player that he gets goals in bursts, very short bursts. So he'll go like 6 games without scoring and then score like in the next 3. And so I think Ollie Watkins is a big one. I think we'll look to exploit the areas in defence. And I do fancy Ollie to get a goal tomorrow night. And also Emi Martinez, our keeper. Exceptional buy from Arsenal in the summer once again. Recruitment was excellent. And he's kept us in a lot of games. I mean, the weekend we played Wolves, I'm not sure if you saw it, but 0-0 draw. I do not understand how there wasn't a goal in that. He pulled off 2 exceptional saves that kept us in the match. Against Brighton a few weeks ago, he made 9 saves that got us a point. So he's picking up points, and this is the difference from this season and last season, that we've got a strong spine of the team now. I can even highlight Ezri Konsa in defence, who I think has only been dribbled past once this season. Don't quote me, but
that's all right.
It meant he's an immense defender, and I think we've just got a quality spine of the team now.
Yeah, I think that's sort of key to any team, and I think that's sort of what Newcastle are lacking a little bit. I mean, we have some players in there who've been with us for a solid few years now, like your Jamal Lascelles and etc. But they seem to have gone backwards. If anything, they don't seem to be the players they once were. And to be honest, as far as I'm concerned, that comes down to the management. Under Rafa, Jamal Lascelles was a great centre back, and now suddenly he's a shadow of the player he once was. And of course, it doesn't help that we're going to be missing our 3 main talismen in Callum Wilson, Miguel Almiron, and Alan Saint-Maximin. How big of a miss do you think they'll be for us in both this game and in the following weeks until they return?
Yeah, I think there were massive misses for tomorrow, and like you say, in the future. I think Saint-Maximin is a similar player to Grealish. I think he's your biggest asset.
Yeah.
And he draws players to the ball. He scored a great goal against Manchester United the other week, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's a big miss. And you like your forward men is in Callum Wilson, who's been like you say, he's a typical Steve Bruce signing, and he's been there in Steve Bruce's words, got the t-shirt. And yeah, quality Premier League striker. So he'll be missed. And yeah, Almiron as well. I think Almiron went for a sticky patch. I remember last season when
he couldn't buy a goal.
No, last season when he came to Villa, I remember I think he was on the right wing, was he? And
I was at that game. I was in the away end.
Yeah, me too. And he was calling and calling for the ball, and he just weren't getting it. So yeah, it's good to see that he's picked up form, but I feel like Bruce needs to get more out of these final third players, and it's shocking, really. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but Villa had a load of injuries. Newcastle have got a load of injuries. Villa had a load of injuries when Bruce was at the helm.
Yeah, it seems to be some sort of a running theme with Steve Bruce everywhere he's been.
Yeah, I remember Grealish saying that when Bruce was in charge, it was like being in under-9s training. It's just crazy.
Yeah, this is something that alarms Newcastle supporters as well, because we obviously recently there's been the whole Matt Ritchie scandal that's gone on up here, and with Matt Ritchie calling Steve Bruce a coward in training, and it just sort of summarizes just the sort of state that we are in at the moment, and it's really sad to see. But as much as obviously you want Villa to win tomorrow, if we don't get something from the game, it puts massive pressure on us because Fulham are doing really well. Brighton not so much. I think that the weekend after this we play Brighton, which suddenly becomes an absolutely massive game, and then we play Fulham on the final day. So we've got some absolutely huge games still to come. So as much as you may not like it, if we can get something tomorrow, it would potentially prove crucial for us at the minute. And it's just a sad state of affairs. Hopefully our big three players that we've mentioned will be back come April after the international break. But for now, we're going to have to persevere without, and we'll see how the game goes tomorrow. If you had to put a prediction on it, what would you say?
I think we're going to keep a clean sheet, mate. Unfortunately, I think I'll go 2-0 Villa, mate.
Honestly, I could see that happening quite easily. I could quite easily see that happening. So I respect that. And Jude, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been a real privilege and a pleasure to chat to you.
No problem, Dan, and thanks for having me. Like I say, it's been a pleasure, and hopefully we're still talking after tomorrow's match.
Hopefully so, yes, and hopefully we're both chatting here maybe sometime next season when we're both still in the Premier League. I'd like to think so. I mean, obviously you will be, but whether we will be, that's a different matter. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. As I say, thank you to Jude. And how are the lads?
Up the Villa.